What's going on, YouTube? Thomas L here. In honor of Labor Day, I decided to do my top 10 favorite workplace movies. Alright, coming in at number 10 will be the 2006 film The Devil's Wear Prada, which is, of course, set in the fashion climate. This is a really, good movie. I mean, Meryl Streep pretty much plays the villain in this. You got like Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt. This is actually a really fan favorite. Like almost everyone really loves this movie, including myself. I mean, I don't like jump up and down with it for as most people do, but it's pretty decent. I mean, Meryl Streep was dynamite in this movie. Yeah, again, she's Meryl Streep. She's dynamite in everything. I mean, if no one's still haven't seen Devil's Wears Prada, give it a go. It's a really good love movie. It's not really like it's not even that much for me either because I'm not really that much of a fashion guy. But even if you're not into fashion, I think you'll probably get a kick out of the movie. Coming in at number 9 is Barbershop, which is of course a comedy that takes place in a barbershop. You got like Ice Cube he's in this, Cedric the Entertainer, Anthony Anderson, good supporting cast. And like I said, it takes place in a barbershop. It's hysterical. I even took the other two that came after, Barbershop Back in Business and the most recent Barbershop The Last Cut. These films aren't like great, like they're not great movies, but they're pretty fun, like funny and enjoyable to watch. And it's always cool seeing the characters interact with each other. They always have amazing chemistry. All right, coming in at number 8, it's a recent one, and that will be last year's The Belko Experiment. This movie is batshit crazy. It's pretty much like Office Space meets maybe Battle Royale, where like workers are in a like a who work in like a building, and I think it takes place in like Mexico if I'm not mistaken. And well, they all pretty much have to like kill one another, in order for one of them to stay alive. I mean, it was the most nuttiest movie I've seen last year. When I mean nuts, I mean nuts. People get killed in the most craziest ways. I mean, yeah, it's definitely underrated. I believe it was like scripted by James Gunn and was directed by the Wolf Creek director. I mean, what James Gunn like did with this movie, the script that he wrote, whew, was nutty. I would just see. I wish we could see it like a sequel down the line because this movie is so darn fun. If you guys haven't seen the Belko Experiment by now, give it a go. It's awesome. Coming in at number 7 is the last movie you'll ever want to watch with your parents, and that will be The Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, this stars like Leo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort, who was a total dick, and he pretty much like rose to fame to a wealthy stockbroker, living in high life, and he involves crime, corruption, and of course the federal government. This Leo DiCaprio, I thought Leo was fantastic in this movie. Of course, it takes place during, of course, the stockbroker and all. I mean, you even got like Jonah Hill. He's in this. Matthew McConaughey. Oh, Margot Robbie. Whew, this movie made me have a huge crush on Margot Robbie, and maybe kind of for the obvious reason. But I mean, if this This movie, I think, should have won Best Picture at the Oscars. It's such a good movie. It's long as hell, but other than that, it's awesome, man. If you guys still haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street by now, watch it by yourself. I would not suggest to watch this with like a family member or whatever. There is risque stuff in this. All right, coming in at number 6 is Anchorman, which is of course takes place in like a news station mainly most of the times, and of course it stars Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy. Anchorman is one of the funniest comedies. I mean, Will Ferrell is awesome as the role. You also got like the likes of Steve Carell, David Koechner, Paul Rudd, Christina Applegate. Seth Rogen has a part in this. Vince Vaughn, like amazing cast. And of course, this takes place in, I believe, San Diego. If I'm not, yeah, San Diego. I always keep thinking it's in San Francisco, but I mean, Anchorman and its sequel. I really dug the sequel. Are both awesome comedies. Like if no one still hasn't seen the Anchorman movies by now, treat yourself. They're really hysterical. All right, coming in at number 5 is the 1992 film Glengarry Glen Ross, which was directed by James Foley, who of course went on to do the last two 50 Shades movies, and pretty much like takes behind the scenes of real estate, like in a real estate office. It's actually based on a play by David Mamet, and it stars the likes of Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Alan Arkin, Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey's actually in this. Such a good film, and of course, there's few lines that because you remember that scene where I think it was Boss Baby, where the main baby told the other baby to put that cookie down and put because cookies are for closures. That was pretty much a line used in Glengarry Glen Ross. So that's definitely a reason why I love that scene. Anyway, back to this. Glengarry Glen Ross is a fantastic movie. It pretty much shows like what's like the inside of estate offices and how bosses could be total dicks. And Alec Baldwin gave probably one of his better performances in this. Of course, Kevin Spacey, way before the whole misconduct stuff. Kevin Spacey is pretty good in these type of roles. I mean, with this, of course, he was in Horrible Bosses. He's pretty good at playing like a boss, because he has like the boss look, like someone he looks like he could literally be your boss in real life. All right, now coming in at number 4 is the 19 is the 1987 James L. Brooks classic Broadcast News. It's of course about two rival television reporters who pretty much sparks fly with a coworker. I mean, the two leads is played by William Hurt and Albert Brooks. You also had Holly Hunter as the female lead. Also, Joan Cusack is in this movie. I mean, it's darn good. It's pretty much the '80s Anchorman in a weird way. I mean, this movie is pretty much an '80s classic. If you guys still haven't seen Broadcast News, do yourself a favor and treat yourself. It's a really good '80s flick. Coming in at number 3 is 1988 film Working Girl, which of course starred Melanie Griffith. Harrison Ford was in this. You also got like Sigourney Weaver. This was kind of in a way sort of like broadcast news if you want to look at it. It was pretty much directed by the late great Mike Nichols, R.I.P. Such a talented director. And it's pretty much about like a secretary's idea who is like stolen by her boss, and she seizes the opportunity to steal back by pretending she has her boss's job. I mean, it's a good movie. You know, Melanie Griffith was, I gotta say, she was really good looking back in the days. You also had like Joan Cusack, who was also in broadcasting news, so pretty cool. She had like in the '80s, Joan Cusack had like 2 workplace related movies. Alec Baldwin, you know, speaking of Alec Baldwin, he was in this. Kevin Spacey was also in this movie. I keep forgetting Spacey was in Working Girl. Wow, looks like Alec Baldwin and Kevin Spacey was in a workplace movie like before Glenn Ross. But yeah, Working Girl, that's another '80s classic. All right, coming in at number 2 is the 1999 film Office Space. I mean, you gotta add Office Space. I mean, directed by Mike Judge, the guy who brought us Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. And of course, it's the comedy about company workers who hate their jobs and they decide to rebel against their greedy boss. I mean, the boss is actually played by Stephen Root, who's awesome. You also got like Gary Cole, Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston, John C. McClellan, who's also in Belko Experiment. You know, this is a '90s comic classic, and of course, there's scenes in this that were spoofed in other stuff, like the scene where in Family Guy where Stewie and Brian are destroying Peter's "Bird is a Word" record. That was a spoof of Office Space. Also, Jennifer Aniston, I really dug her in this movie as well. You know, if you guys still haven't seen Office Space, it actually turns 20 next year, and it's a film that's still talked about today. You know, check out Office Space. It's like the film still gets shown on Comedy Central from time to time. But yeah, give it a go. Office Space is an awesome movie. All right, coming in at number 1. Is the 1980s classic 9 to 5, which of course starred the likes of Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Dolly Parton. And they pretty much turned the tables around their sexism boss. You know, this movie was pretty much like this movie. I think will actually by far work if it was released today. Because with the like in the Me Too era, this movie would definitely work well in the Me Too era. I mean, I think this movie was kind of ahead of its time, you know. But yeah, 9 to 5 also had the classic 9 to 5 song by Dolly Parton, and whenever you hear that song, it's this movie that comes to mind. I mean, the 3 leads, they had good chemistry, and they also recently reunited on a watch. I think it was the SAG Award, if I'm not mistaken, where they reunited on, and they kind of teased that another 9 to 5 was happening. So, like with the Me Too era, I could really see a 9 to 5 either reboot or follow up, happen. Because this was pretty much like the Me Too movie before the Me Too movement began. Anyway, yeah, if you guys still haven't seen 9 to 5, give it a go. It's it's a classic workplace comedy. All right, that's pretty much my list. Let me go down the list again. Number 10, The Devil's Wear Prada. Number 9, Barbershop. 8, The Belko Experiment. 7, The Wolf of Wall Street. 6, Anchorman. 5, Glengarry Glen Ross. 4, Broadcast News. 3, Working Girl. 2, Office Space. And 1, 9 to 5. There's plenty of others I could probably add in. But anyway, I'll give it to you guys. What are your favorite workplace movies? It doesn't have to be a comedy. It could just be any type of workplace movie. Leave your comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas L. signing off.